Imagine waking up on a freezing Scandinavian morning. The sky is still gray. Snow covers the ground, and the easiest decision in the world would be to stay inside. But outside, people are already moving. A skier disappears into a forest. Someone walks through the cold with poles in their hands. Another person climbs a steep hill instead of avoiding it. And in a public park, someone is doing strength, exercises in the open air. None of this looks like a typical American gym workout, and that's exactly why it's interesting. Because the Scandinavian approach to staying active isn't built around one perfect exercise. It's built around finding ways to make movement part of ordinary life. But which activities actually make that possible? And more importantly, what can an American watching this video realistically steal from them? Let's look at 4 Scandinavian exercise habits, and the surprisingly different reason each one works. Picture a winter morning in Norway. A narrow trail cuts through a snow-covered forest. Then a skier appears. There's no chairlift carrying them uphill, no steep downhill run. They are generating the movement themselves. Their legs push against the snow. Their arms drive the poles. Backward, their core keeps the body stable. And the motion continues again and again. This is cross-country skiing. Unlike downhill skiing, the skier isn't relying mainly on gravity. They're continuously propelling themselves across the terrain. That makes it a demanding endurance activity, involving the legs, upper body, core, and cardiovascular system at the same time. But the more interesting part isn't what happens to the body, it's what happens to the mind. Imagine spending half an hour on a treadmill. You can see exactly how long you've been exercising. 20 minutes. 22. 23. You start counting down. Now imagine spending that same half hour moving through a forest. The scenery changes. The trail bends. You have somewhere to go. You're still exercising. But your attention isn't locked onto a timer. The activity has become an experience. And that matters, because an exercise doesn't have to be easy to be sustainable. It has to be something you're willing to return to. For Scandinavians living in snowy regions, winter doesn't automatically shut down outdoor movement. The snow creates another way to move. And there's a fascinating lesson hiding here. The environment doesn't always have to be overcome. Sometimes you can use it, but most Americans aren't going to buy cross-country skis just to stay active, and they don't need to, because the next Scandinavian habit takes something almost everyone already does: walking. Imagine seeing someone walking down a quiet trail. At first, nothing looks unusual. They're walking at a steady pace. Then you notice the poles. With every step, they're pushing the poles into the ground and using their arms to help drive the movement forward. This is Nordic walking, the technique developed in Finland from training methods used by cross-country skiers during the snow-free months. The problem was simple. When the snow disappeared, how do you keep training? The answer was to adapt the movement. Walking became more than just moving your legs. The poles brought the arms and upper body into the motion. The result is a more physically demanding walk that can raise energy expenditure and cardiovascular effort compared with ordinary walking, depending on pace and technique. And that's what makes Nordic walking so clever. It doesn't ask you to completely change your life. You're still walking. You're just changing how you walk. That idea is worth remembering, because many people approach exercise as an all-or-nothing decision. An hour at the gym or nothing, a complete workout or nothing. The Nordic approach offers another possibility. Take something you're already doing and make it more active. A normal walk can become a faster walk. A flat route can become a more challenging route. And if you use proper walking poles, the upper body becomes involved too. You don't need to become a fitness fanatic. You just need to make ordinary movement count for a little more, and that leads to an even simpler idea. Forget the poles. Forget the equipment. Sometimes the ground beneath your feet is enough, because the next exercise is already waiting outside. You're walking through a Scandinavian town. The road is easy at first, then it starts climbing. You keep going. The incline gets steeper. Your legs begin working harder. Your breathing becomes faster. And suddenly, An ordinary walk has turned into a workout. That's the advantage of hills and stairs. You don't need to manufacture resistance. Gravity provides it for you. Walking uphill increases the demand on your lower body muscles and raises the cardiovascular challenge compared with walking on level ground. But there's another reason hills are so useful. They give the effort a destination. You're not climbing because an app told you to complete 12 minutes of incline training. You're climbing because something is at the top, a viewpoint, neighborhood, a trail, a destination. Your brain has a reason to keep going, and that changes the experience. Instead of thinking, how many minutes are left? You're thinking, I'm almost there. That distinction can make physical activity feel less like a punishment and more like part of the journey, and it connects with a broader Nordic appreciation for outdoor life, often described in Norway by the word friluftsliv, the idea of spending meaningful time outdoors. The point isn't that every Scandinavian turns every hill into a workout. They don't. The point is that outdoor movement doesn't always need to be separated from everyday life. A walk can include a climb, a hike can challenge your endurance, a staircase can strengthen your legs, the landscape itself can make you work harder, and there's something else that makes this approach interesting. You don't have to live in Scandinavia to copy it. Find the steepest safe hill in your neighborhood. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Walk uphill for part of your regular route. You don't need a Scandinavian landscape. You need to stop treating every incline like an obstacle. But hills mainly challenge endurance and the lower body. What about strength? For that, Scandinavian communities have another interesting solution, and you may find it in the middle of a public park. Imagine walking through a Swedish or Danish park. People are passing by, children are playing, someone is walking there. Dog, and beside the path is a small outdoor fitness area. Pull-up bars, parallel bars, simple strength. Equipment? No reception desk? No. Membership card? No expensive machines. Someone stops. They do a few exercises, then they continue with their day. The important part isn't that the equipment is outdoors. It's that strength training has been placed where people already spend time. That removes one of the biggest obstacles to exercise. Getting started. When? Exercise requires a special trip, special schedule, and special environment. It's easier to postpone. But when a place to move is already part of the neighborhood, the barrier becomes smaller, and strength training matters for a different reason than skiing or walking. Cardio helps train the heart and lungs, but resistance. Exercise helps maintain muscle strength and physical function. That's especially important as we age. And once again, the Nordic lesson isn't that everyone is constantly exercising. They aren't Scandinavian. Countries have inactive people too. The lesson is much more practical. Make more opportunities for movement available. A trail gives you somewhere to walk. A hill gives you resistance. Walking poles can make a walk more demanding. Outdoor equipment gives you a place to train strength. Different exercises, different benefits. But one common advantage, they give people more ways to move. And that's where the real story comes together. Because perhaps we've been asking the wrong question. We've been asking, which Scandinavian exercise should I copy? But maybe the better question is, how can I make movement easier to choose? That changes everything. The real Scandinavian lesson isn't that everyone skis. It isn't that everyone uses walking poles. And it isn't that every person spends their weekends climbing hills or exercising in public parks. That would be a stereotype. The deeper lesson is about opportunity. Cross-country skiing can turn winter into endurance training. Nordic walking can make an ordinary walk more physically demanding. Hills and stairs can turn everyday movement into cardio and lower body work. Outdoor strength spaces can make resistance training more accessible. And you don't need to copy the exact Scandinavian version of any of them. You can take the principle. Walk somewhere instead of driving when it's practical. Choose a route with a hill. Take the stairs. Use a park for a short strength session. Go outside even when the weather isn't perfect. Because the biggest enemy of consistency isn't always laziness. Sometimes, it's friction. The workout is too far away. The schedule is too complicated. The weather isn't perfect. You don't have enough time. So you wait, and tomorrow becomes next week. The Scandinavian approach offers a different answer. Don't build your entire life around exercise. Build more opportunities for movement into the life you already have. That's a much smaller change, and small changes are easier to repeat. The goal isn't to become someone who never misses a workout. It's to become someone who keeps moving. Because over time, those ordinary decisions begin to add up. A walk, a hill, a trail, a few strength exercises, another walk tomorrow, and another one after that. That's when exercise stops being an event and starts becoming part of your lifestyle. Maybe that's the Scandinavian habit Americans should really copy. Not a specific workout, not a perfect fitness routine, but the idea that movement doesn't always need a special place, a special time, or perfect motivation. Sometimes, you just step outside and begin. If you enjoy discovering the everyday habits, culture, and quiet wisdom behind Scandinavian life, consider subscribing to the Scandinavian Way.